Welcome to Kings Spotlight as we enter week 4 of the Monarch football season. And we are joined again by Kings head coach Jeff Knarr. Coach, thanks for being with us again this week.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Coach, a very big week and a very big game. It's Kings homecoming, and your Monarchs are playing host to local rival Misericordia University on Saturday. But before we talk about this week's game, let's touch briefly on last week's game with MAC frontrunner Lycoming. Your coach comes off a tough 28-13 loss to an outstanding Lycoming team in a game where you showed some good things and gave the Warriors their toughest game of the year. What positives did you take from this week's game that you expect to carry over into the Misericordia contest?
One that we played a team that was obviously picked to win the conference, won the conference last year. A team that we were able to beat last year, and then we kind of took the fight to them and matched their play. Tried to match their physicality, did some good things to put ourselves in position, to stay in the ball game and win the ball game, and that's what you need to do when you play good people. So the build on that. I mean, I thought we played pretty stout defense. From there we moved the ball pretty effectively, and then we just had to find ways to finish drives and not kill ourselves at the end, which was the difference. I mean, they took advantage of opportunities and cashed them in, and we had opportunities and we didn't necessarily finish the opportunities. But for a while there, I mean, theoretically the game should have been 21-21 at the half. So our kids kind of started to look like we got closer to playing a complete football game in all three phases, and now we got to take that another step to actually play a complete game in all three phases. This weekend with a huge contest with Misericordia.
Last season, Kings and Misericordia played what was unquestionably the turning point of the season. The game went double overtime, and we pulled out a 41-40 win that ultimately propelled us to winning 6 of the last 7 games. Would you agree that last year's game was the turning point of the season?
Absolutely. Because our kids, to the way we won that game, we had to make a play. And we constantly tell our kids, players make plays, players win games. And then so they, finally they rose up, made a play. They knocked a 2-point conversion down, made plays in overtime, made plays to get to overtime, that kind of deal. And we were sure our kids that you guys made plays, you stayed together, you hung together, and then that's how you got the win. And then, that kind of, bonded them together to help them, figure out a roadmap of what it takes to win football games and propelled us for the season last year.
Coach, is there any additional pressure this week playing a team on homecoming that you have yet to lose to? And are there any distractions knowing that there will be a big crowd and a party-like atmosphere going on before and during the game?
I mean, we just talked to our kids that, our responsibility at homecoming is to go out there and win the homecoming game. So, to minimize the distractions from that deal. But on the flip side, tell our kids that, embrace this atmosphere, be excited to play in front of a huge crowd. A lot of, alums, former players, students, current and past administrators, everyone's going to be at the game. A nice crowd. Get excited, get jacked up in that. It's going to be an electric type of an atmosphere for homecoming, and embrace that and be motivated and excited to play their best football.
Offensively, it would be fair to say the Kings' running game is not where you would expect to be at this point in the season. We have had great success in the past 2 years running the ball against Misericordia, as senior tailback Kyle McGrath has averaged 188 yards per game the last 2 years against the Cougars. Running the football is a team effort, though, so how important is it to not only get Kyle McGrath and junior running back Patrick Robinson untracked, but also for the offensive line to raise their level of play as well?
I mean, it's huge because, again, that's part of the issues that we're moving the ball well, but then when you get closer, you get less field space. I mean, then that's when you got to just buckle the chin strap and be able to punch things in and finish drives. So we need to sustain drives and sustain our physicality and be more physical at the point of attack so that we can sustain some of these runs. And we're watching the film last week, and we had some good early runs, and if we would have been a little bit more physical, a little bit better fundamentally sound with some of our blocks and body position, the runs would have been bigger runs. And then you can kind of build on that from there, and then obviously the score dictated to get away from the running game. But we don't want to be a one-dimensional team. We need to be a balanced football team. So the thing we're stressing is, again, we need to be more physical at the point of attack, sustain our blocks longer, and then go through our reads and progressions as a running back and believe where the hole is going to be and have faith that it's going to be there and hit it and not try to look to make there something happen that's necessarily not there. So we definitely have been out of sync with our run game, and we're working hard to get it in sync so we can be the balanced offense that we want to be.
Coach, after 3 games, what areas do you think your team has improved in the most?
I thought we did a fairly good job of managing the football. I mean, we had a lot of turnovers the first two games. You know, from an offensive side, the standpoint, I mean, we took care of the football, you know, pretty well on Saturday, which was, you know, key in there, not to give them, you know, extra possessions, you know, from that deal. You know, and I think defensively, you know, we're tackling better, we're running to the football, you know, better from there. You know, in the kick game, you know, we had, you know, our kick return wasn't as good last year, and we've had really good kick returns, you know, in our game so far, you know, this season. You know, and then we're punting the ball, you know, well. I think we're punting 5 or 6 yards, you know, average better than we did last year, which again is going to, you know, push the defense, you know, put the defense in a better position when they start their drives from that deal. So we're seeing improvement in all 3 phases, but there's obviously, you know, a lot more improvement we can make.
Last week, senior wide receiver Dan Kempa broke the Kings' career receiving yards record by netting his 2,029th yard against Lycoming. This week, he needs 5 catches to break the career receptions mark of 117 set by Julian Walker from 2002 to 2005. Considering Dan played quarterback in high school and only had 2 receptions as a freshman, talk about him developing into one of the top receivers in the MAC and in Kings history.
Yeah, I mean, he's a kid, you know, when we recruited him not to be a quarterback. He doesn't throw very well, but he's very athletic. I mean, he was a great athlete, and you can see that on film that he can play. And we told him in recruiting, you know, you could play wide receiver, you could play safety, you could probably even play running back and be very successful in the college level. Where do you want to play? And he wanted to be a, you know, a receiver, and he's worked really hard. You know, one of, I think, you know, having the confidence and kind of come from a small school setting to, you know, a little bit bigger stage and getting comfortable and adapting from there. And then he just let his natural ability and athleticism, you know, take over and work really hard to, you know, to hone his craft of running precise routes and great routes, because the thing that comes naturally to him is his hands. I mean, he doesn't wear gloves, you know, and he just catches the ball effortlessly, and in any body position from there. He's got one of the, you know, the best hands probably of any receiver, you know, that I've coached from there. So just to see him, you know, come in and have a little bit of the you know, wide-eyed, you know, deal as a freshman, and then continue to just work hard and have the success he has, and be able to beat the production he has with, you know, for the last 6 or 7 games now, everyone knows where he is and just tries to put on. Like Lycoming had 2 guys that counted for him all day, and to still get 10 catches was very, very impressive.
Senior quarterback Tyler Hartranft also set a career mark last week when he passed for a program record 4,509 yards, breaking the mark of 4,322 set by Tom Parentozzi from 1998 to 2001. Tyler also set the record in just 3 years after transferring from Susquehanna after his freshman season.
Yeah, and with Tyler, we've seen you know, a lot of times when you have 3-year, you know, guys, you know, you want to see that growth. And, you know, like he had a pretty good sophomore season, but he turned the ball over a lot. And then, you know, last year the turnovers were way down, and then the yards were up. He got his completion percentage, you know, up. Touchdowns were up, and did a really good job from there. You know, a little shaky start here, but then this last game, I mean, did a really good job. And then the things that the intangibles that you see from a third-year guy, he checked us into some better plays that, you know, based on our film, we had, you know, thought this would work. They came out a different look, and he got us into a good play from there. And then a third-year guy, he's able to make quicker decisions with his feet and did a phenomenal job, you know, running and be able to extend plays to throw the ball or to run, you know, for first down. So you're seeing, you know, some of the knowledge and the, you know, astuteness that you have of a third-year quarterback to kind of be a coach on the field. And then again, he was, you know, again, very, very productive. And so he's gotten better every year and having a great career and hoping to finish here with a great senior season.
Looking ahead to Misericordia, they enter the game coming off a 35-0 win over FDU, and it's the first time since they started the program 3 years ago that they will actually take the momentum of a victory into a game situation the following week. What type of confidence do you expect to see from them when they come to the field on Saturday?
I expect them to be, you know, sky high and fully confident. You know, from there, they have a lot of guys back. You know, we went to double overtime with them last year. You know, they're coming off a dominating, you know, performance where they played solid football in all 3 phases. So it's a short ride for them, and I, you know, fully expect to see them at the top of their game.
Misericordia has an excellent running game and leads the MAC with 253 rushing yards per game. Junior quarterback Jeff Puckett leads the conference with 146 yards per game and had a big second half against us last season. What is the key to trying to contain Puckett and the Cougar ground game?
You know, it's assignment football. I mean, they're reading and, you know, optioning people, so we can't have, you know, guys just thinking they see the ball, if they're assigned to a gap, assigned to a guy, assigned to pitch, quarterback, whatever it is, they got to do their job from that standpoint. Because if not, Puckett is extremely athletic. He's very good at his ball handling skills, so he's going to read it. He's going to give it when it's the give. He's going to pull it. When he's supposed to pull it, he can make people miss. He can run people over, and he's got very good speed. So we need to be disciplined in our assignments and not give them the big play and make it easier for them. Make it harder to do their job and not easier.
The Misericordia defense comes off its first shutout in program history and is clearly playing better than in previous seasons. What do you see as the key reasons for their improvement?
They're physical. They're tackling better. Covering people better, and then you're seeing them go through their reads and keys, and they're playing good, sound fundamental football. And they were flying to the ball, on Saturday against FDU on film, and then when they guys were getting there, tackling very, very well.
What will your message to the team be before you step out onto the field Saturday against Misericordia?
To go out and then to continue to we've been played good stretches of football, and we need to do that, but then they need to be longer stretches. We need to continue to play good football, seize the momentum when things are going well, and then build on that, and then not be our worst enemy. We've killed ourselves either with penalties or miscues at inopportune times. I mean, things are going well, we get the ball down there knocking on the door, then we get penalties or we shoot ourselves in the foot. So have that confidence that when things are going well, the confidence has got to get higher, and focus tighter, and then be able to finish drives from that standpoint. So we're looking for our guys to just play a complete football game and not have self-inflicted, mistakes that have cost us in the past. And if we can play that complete game, keep our mistakes to a minimum, we'll be okay.
Well, Coach, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for being with us again this week. And good luck to you and the Monarch football team when you host Misericordia University Saturday at 1 p.m. at McCarthy Stadium on King's Homecoming 2014.
Thank you.